life sentence.
Mm.
And I am understanding through them how to best support them, because I need to be strong for them, and I know how it feels. And this is something that I learned from them, and I just admire them for that so much.
Now, when you say to support them, can you be specific? What do you mean by that?
A lot of it's emotional support.
Okay.
A lot of it is, for example, my best friend who is serving a life sentence, nobody knows if he'll ever come home. That's the sad truth.
Yeah.
You have to be granted parole. But even though there's all these things that we don't necessarily understand, and we don't know if it will ever happen, to have the power to say, you know what, you're going through this, I'm going to stick it out with you, and we're going to fight through this together. That's the support that I mean, where it's something that it hurts to ask of a child, right? But a lot of these children, they willingly give it. They're there to support their family members, their loved ones. That's how much love they have for those folks.
Would you say it's accurate that there's almost a reversal of roles where, say, a son is in high school and his dad is in prison? Suddenly, the son might have to be the parent. Would you say that's accurate?
I think in some sense, I think it's accurate. I believe it's very accurate. Just because they don't have the support system that a regular child has, and I feel like they have to kind of build that and recreate it. And in that sense, yes, that they, in a sense, become those figures.
Yeah.
I know that my younger brothers, that when we left, even though I didn't have a father growing up, we would play those favorites. We would try to mimic them, right? Try to recreate what we thought were adults or parents.
Mm-hmm.
But when we left, my younger siblings likely felt that they had to replace those shoes that we try to somehow recreate.
Right. Yeah, and that's tough. No child should have to be put into those shoes, but the situation sometimes demands it. What are your goals for the next year or so? How very thrilling that you are graduating, as you said, virtually, but these days. But as you look ahead, what do you see for yourself?
Well, graduate school. I see graduate school. I don't know what yet. I don't know if I want to pursue a PhD. I don't know if I want to go into law school yet. I'm undecided. But I know that I will be back in prison, helping my fellow community members and teaching teaching 4-year university courses inside the institutions.
Oh.
I will do that eventually. I don't have a time span for that. But also, an additional thing that I want to do as I continue moving through education is to continue to create those safe spaces for students who are formerly incarcerated and system impacted. And that's something that we do here. I'm going to UCLA, and we have a student organization called the Underground Scholars Initiative, and that's what we do. And it's something that I begin to see again. It's repeatedly coming up that incarceration doesn't stop when somebody comes home. These family members have to deal with probation. They have to deal with parole, right? They, in themselves, just for having a family member stay over the house, they give up their privacy rights. There's a police officer who could just control in and move their stuff, touch their things, come in the middle of the night. There's all these things that all these kids have to live with. But once they transition into adulthood, they continue to live with this. And it's something that we create here on campus. It's kind of like a grown-up version of P.O.P.S, but where we support one another. We understand that that it's hard to love somebody who's incarcerated.
That's wonderful. This Underground Scholars. Is it just at you're at UCLA? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that Underground Scholars just there, or is it in other colleges and universities?
I believe we're so California has a UC system. It's a University of California system.
Right.
And we're in all those schools except for 2, I believe. So we're beginning to broaden out.
Terrific. That's wonderful. I think it's very much what Amy would like to see with P.O.P.S, the club, to expand it to every high school in the country. I'm sure if she could wave a magic wand, that's what she would like. And I would like to see that too. It's such a wonderful support system for kids. And she has told us a great deal about it. Well, I'm trying. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you a little bit about the anthology that P.O.P.S publishes. Can you tell us a little bit about that in the few minutes we have left? Okay.
So the anthologies are a collection of short stories, a collection of letters. It also has photography. It also has visual art. And what it is, it's an opportunity for P.O.P students to really express themselves. And not only that, I think it's important to also see yourself. So I remember contributing a piece of work. This was before P.O.P.S was created, and Dennis used to have small anthologies for our class. And one of them got published through Penn, and it was a collection of short stories. And I remember he sent me a copy of it when I was incarcerated. This was the first time I had seen my name in print. And it's just something for me. To me, it validated the idea that my stories are true, that they hold something. And lastly, for me at least, was that I am a writer. I can do this, right? And that meant the world to me. And just having that safe space and to visualize and see myself like, I'm a published person, right? Either my artwork's published, my photography is published, or my writing is published, but I have something to contribute. And I think that's huge. A lot of us inherently, I think we know this, right? But we're afraid to really hone that. And it's something that I think those anthologies do provide the space for them to be heard. Yeah. And it's a platform for the voices to be vocalized.
That's so wonderful. You mentioned Penn. Penn is a very old organization. I'm not sure how much our listeners might know about it. It's almost 100 years old. I think next year it'll be 100. And back in the early 70s, someone had an idea to start a prison writing contest. Penn recognizes very well-known authors from around the world. So it's a very huge organization. But what they decided to do was create a contest for people in prison. And what a wonderful thought that there's some talent in prison. And indeed, there is a great deal of talent in prison. And now every year they have prizes for winners in categories of memoir, poetry, even a short play or a novella. And just what you said, the recognition, the validation that you have something to say that maybe people would love to read and get something from. So I champion them. I think they're a terrific, terrific group. Well, that's great. So we only have a couple minutes left, and I wanted to thank you for sharing your story with us today. I'd like our listeners to tune in next time when we will meet Shaylee Heflin, also active with P.O.P.S the Club, and a child of incarcerated parents. So she will have a perspective that will be all her own. And then this is one part of a multi-part podcast addressing the whole idea of the impact of prison on families and children. And we will also have some of the P.O.P.S Club members on in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And as always, please share your thoughts and comments with me at pursuing.justice5@gmail.com. Be safe, be well. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. And John, thank you so very much for your time today on the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.